Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
PWC Podcast with Rick Del Santo. For all your wrestling reviews, interviews, and news, Rick covers the United Wrestling Network, the NWA, and the Northeast region of the United States Independency. PWC keeps you in the zone.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Someday we won't be here anymore. There will just be a series of short 10 to 30 second videos that you'll just watch for 2 hours. And that's all it'll be because we're getting very good at them. We are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. My name is Tim. I go by @the-Alliance Gold. Look at that. That's all changed recently. I am joined by my brothers in pod. This gentleman to kind of my immediate, I'm going to say right, depending on which way you're looking, is Dave Scooby. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well.
And just on the other side, making a Scooby sandwich with his piece of bread over there, it's Jeremy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, as I hope our friend Pollo Del Mar is.
Yeah, we should talk about this. Let's see who's in the chat first, though. Willie's in the chat, and Willie, of course, every time Willie's up, has got something to say about Tyrus. She pities every toilet Tyrus has ever sat on. Oh, Willie. We got to see you at 75, Willie, when we all get to 75. Age 75. But at NWA 75. We want to see you there down the road. Who else we got tonight? We got Sam Retro in the house. What's up, Sam? Good for you to... thank you for being here. James Bell he's here as well. Hi all. Hi James. Good to see you. And guys, we got a bunch of stuff, regular stuff to talk about tonight. NWA USA is back. We'll do our regular deep dive into that. We'll touch on the results only from Power and leave the details to the big dogs tomorrow night on the OG Alliance guys. Jeremy's going to bring some Memphis wrestling and championship wrestling Red Carpet Rumble, part 2 of 3, I think, Jeremy.
Yes.
To us from the UWN. It is so good. I'm enjoying it so much. And in our I Respect You Booker Man segment, Dave's gonna talk about booking Pretty Empowered and the Renegade Twins, which I am looking forward to. Not just the booking, but the actual program between them. So that'll be good. But let's talk about Pollo. What'd you see, Jeremy? What do you see? What do you know?
She got trucked.
She did. She got smoked.
My good Lord.
Yeah.
That was like watching an episode of 1,000 Ways to Die.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, Willie's going to try to make it to 75, wherever that is. That's great, because I'll be there.
Awesome.
And Sam says, just hope Cardona gets the title back. Wouldn't count on it, but, hey, anything is possible in the world of professional wrestling. You know, it's funny. I saw a tweet from an account I follow, really funny guy. I think it's called Ecstasy of Gold on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You know him.
Yep.
And he said today something along the lines of they took the title away from Matt Cardona because he wasn't going to be able to defend the title for 3 months. As of today, Tyrus and Trevor Murdoch, which I'm not so quite sure about the details on that one, didn't defend the title for 3 months. And Cardona is going to England and Ireland and Australia and the Bahamas and defending titles all over the place right now. So there you go. That was interesting to see. Willie says if Howard Cardona gets the title back, I pray that Tom Latimer, Dak Draper, owns and defeats him. And Sam says definitely Tom Latimer. I think it's time. I think 2023 might be the year for Tom Latimer. What do you guys think?
Man, I hope so.
Yeah, Dave.
I mean, before he's damaged too much again, build him up as quick as you can and get a title on him, any title.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, his last one, his only one in the NWA has been World Tag Team titles. And that was a couple years ago.
And that was what, first season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they dropped him to Rock and Roll Express.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. They almost won the Crockett Cup that year. Did really well as the wild cards, he and Royce Isaacs, and ended up winning those titles down the road. Yeah, dropped him to the Rock and Roll Express, which actually was the reason I got back into the NWA. A friend of mine hit me up online. He's like, "Did you know the Rock and Roll Express are wrestling for the NWA World Tag Team titles?" I was like, "What?" That's how I ended up coming back to this whole thing. But that's neither here nor there. We got some stuff to get to. It is time. We'll go straight into NWA USA from February 4th, and we start off on this with these guys right here, the Country Gentlemen, with Kyle Davis thanking the fans, the new NWA US Tag Team Champions. You know, they can talk pretty well, Dave, and I wish that they'd had a mic earlier in their run.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think Jeremy and I both have the same kind of opinion of or at least did in the beginning. But these guys can talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think, Dave, of the promo they gave with their ugly AF belts? Unfortunately, it's not their fault, but
yeah,
I don't like those belts, man.
I thought it was good. I mean, it was a hometown crowd that they were in front of, and I mean, everybody was going gaga for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was time, and I don't know what they do with the fixers from here on out, but it's time to almost rotate it, give these teams some chances to either build up to the World Tag belts or have a good run with the US belts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost wonder if you can't move the fixers on to the World Tag Team. I don't know if I can put that on the screen, Jay. To the World Tag Team title scene. But I mean, I thought, like, are they a regional phenomenon, do you think, Jeremy? Do you think they're going to fly across the entire NWA market from, coast to coast, so to speak?
Well, I don't know if they translate well coast to coast. While the NWA is starting to venture out there, they haven't gotten there yet. I don't know. I know that they're definitely over in the Knoxville area, and rightfully so. I mean,
yeah,
I was surprised when they started talking, and just how clean and polished it sounded, especially Anthony Andrews, who, as I've mentioned, is the shits as far as wrestling. So for him to have a good promo was surprising to me. And I liked how they tied it all into family. You know, it was good, cheap pop. You know,
Yeah.
Cleveland, Knoxville family. Welcome to hello, Cleveland. Cheap pop.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah. It just that was the match you're talking about, where the last match they had, they just kind of shook our heads about what was happening in that particular match with Andrews Kazana and the Fixers and the way it just looked on screen. But that's what the U.S. tag team titles for, I guess, guys, right? To put it on teams that need some work, that really kind of help get them over. I don't know if they could get any more over than they are right now down there, Dave. Like you were there for this event, and Jeremy and I could see it on the screen. Like the crowds were just like,
Oh yeah,
hey.
White hot.
I mean, anybody from that area. I mean, Silas was over. The crowd had signs, and I mean, it was just it's amazing how the hometown crowd can work for certain wrestlers.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that they give them a decent run and use the U.S. tag belts as a stepping stone. Now, I'm not sure. I mean, AJ hasn't been wrestling long, but he has everything that it takes. I could see him down the line as either TV or a national champion. I mean, he has the size. He's a good old boy. But when you listen to him talk, he's not a quote unquote good old boy hick sounding backwoods kind of guy. He's a modern country gentleman.
Right.
As their name says, a country gentleman.
Right.
He goes the good boy route, but when need be, he can get down and dirty. And I can see, I mean, as good as a tag team they are, you can see cracks in it. That they're not always on the same page. They're in the same book, but not always the same page.
Yep.
So the AJ, I think, has the upside. And if down the line they end up splitting and someone else takes the belts, move him on up, put him in the TV title scene, go the national. I mean,
sure.
You give him 3 or 4 years, he'd be a white meat babyface world champion if all the stars aligned.
You know what? Sometimes it's just the smallest tweaks. Like right now, we're looking at a couple of guys who need some work, and they just have that basic cowboy country gentleman gimmick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you throw someone down there like Trevor Murdoch, and one of you guys brought this up recently on this show, was just like, what if Trevor Murdoch or what if Silas Mason were aligned with, like, or they were aligned with those guys, and all of a sudden that whole image just kind of changes. Like, the country gentlemen are just sort of edgier and more badassy than they were before, just by having that Murdoch rub, or frankly, that Thrillbilly rub.
Yep.
That'd be because he's great. Yeah.
Am I wrong in the fact that isn't in Kazana's promotion, the country gentleman is AJ Kazana, Anthony Anderson, and Thrillbilly Silas Mason?
I believe so. Kazana and Thrillbilly is what Jay's just saying here. I think you're right. Let me go back to what people are saying here. They got that old 80s feel to them, the country gentleman, and also Thrillbilly. So he's proceeding even what we're saying. Sam wants also the now brought back in. Me too, man.
Yep.
Give me the now. I keep tweeting at them going, hey, Vic, Hale, when are you guys coming back? And they're like, thumbs up. I mean, give me something here. Give me something. Jay says the gentlemen won't get over outside of Knoxville, and the Fixers will win them back. Could be right. Could be right. I guess we don't know at this stage, but this victory, he adds, was a thank you to the Kazanas, and that may well be the case. I could see that happening, but boy, we needed to get those tag team belts off the Fixers anyway. So, happy to see the change overall. Willie likes Blake Bulletproof Troop, who our friend Rick Del Santo just spoke to over on
Yes.
Pro Wrestle Zone. So check out Rick's show over there. And Sam hopes that the fixers don't win them back because he'd like to see them do something with the Country Gentlemen. So I guess we'll wait to see. Willie correctly points out that the NWA needs to build up that tag team and ladies division, especially with 2 title belts. So we'll have to see. We hear rumors about Crockett Cup coming back, and we don't know at this point. So let's keep our eye on that collectively. We go to Homicide versus Grizzled Ryan Davidson. That's kind of a cool handle. So this is the first match of the night for this show. So Homicide bails immediately as this one starts, and he starts to look for weapons under the ring, and he finds nothing. Davidson gets more offense overall in this thing than really you might think that he would. He looks decent for someone who's not going over tonight, but he's hitting suplexes, he's hitting strikes. He does this neat standing leg lariat early on. But Homicide uses the ring post to damage Ryan's ankle, and he's working it in the story of this match afterwards. He ends up getting a pen from Velvet. Like Velvet apparently hands him a pen when he comes over to the table. And everyone's yelling at her like, "Why did you do that?" But Kevin Keenan, our referee, takes it. You know, he's over the top Homicide on this one. He's biting Davidson's foot through the boot when he's hooked up. There is a power slam, a reverse atomic drop. That gives Davidson a comeback. Homicide though hits a tornado DDT and a neck breaker and a Koji cutter to win over Davidson. Here's what happens directly afterwards. Homicide grabs Kyle Davis, drags him up the ramp to the podium, and cuts something of a. As a man who loves Homicide in the ring, let me just say I mean this kindly, and a mostly incoherent promo. It's a little difficult to follow. He says he used to be the champ and he was the best champ. He was defending it everywhere, 100%. But he lost, and now he wants the national title. He says Sion's a scrub and he's not here tonight, so he calls it his dad, Austin Idol. And Idol comes out, and Homicide says he wants to fight Sion at Nuff Said. And Idol says, you were a junior heavyweight. You're not even a heavyweight. You're not in our class. And so Homicide basically says, when was the last time you had your ass kicked? And, he calls him, it's all bleeped out, but it looks like he went deep into the swear jar as he calls him everything in it. I guess maybe you heard it all, Dave, because you were right there. And it's a little lost on camera, but what we gather is they try to pull it together at the end is that Idol says, "That's fine. We'll see you at Nuff Said." And as the refs break this up, and they're going to be fighting each other in Tampa. Dave, you were there for this one. What did you think of the match and the, as Cornette would call it, the afterbirth?
Well, okay. First off, the match itself was pretty good, but it's one of those matches that you have to almost suspend your belief in seeing somebody the size of Ryan Davidson. He's quite large compared to Homicide, who is 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
But it's by any means necessary that you have to look back that Homicide is a former junior heavyweight just in the NWA, but he's a former champion in ROH and other independent wrestling organizations throughout the United States. What he doesn't have in size, he has in grit. that he's, 20 plus years in the business, grizzled veteran.
Badass.
Yeah, he wrestles when he needs to, but he just likes to fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's giving the people around him a rub, even in a loss. Ryan Davidson, you really don't see him winning over a veteran like Homicide.
Right.
Even with the size differential, Homicide, by any means necessary, he will try to win. Now, him bumping up to the national title, if anything, that's just giving Scion a rub because it's a victory over a name. It's a victory over a former NWA champion, even though it is a junior heavyweight. It'll make both of them look good. And it's just one of those things. I really wish they would keep interviews to a minimum or have somebody be his manager.
Right.
Could you imagine, throw him with either Chris Silvio or have Aaron Stevens do the talking for him? Imagine a group of Blunt Force Trauma and Homicide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're just there to wreak havoc.
100%. I like the Chris Silvio idea too. Now he's got Blake Bulletproof Troop, but we were just talking about something a moment ago. Pollo Del Mar is here, the dirty no gooders, and as Jay points out, are you okay?
Right.
Pollo says she's watching from her hospital bed. That terrible J.R. Kratos, wiped out. It looked legit painful on the screen. So we hope that you are doing well. Please let us know. It looked like Thrillbilly had to kind of carry you out of there, but rough bump, and thank you for taking one for our entertainment. That's solid, but good for you. And a bit of a rough night for both you and the Thrillbilly, but I guess we'll get to that. Jax, what does Willie say? Oh yeah, Jackson and Blake Troop could be tag team as a tag team. Could win the Crockett Cup. Anything's possible. I know J. Cal says there's really only 3 teams that can win the Crockett Cup right now, and it's like that. We're totally okay with that. I think we've gone over that before, though. James says it concerns me that I can actually follow Homicide on the mic. Yeah. It's a bit of a rough one. And to Dave's point, I think just putting him with a mouthpiece goes a long way. I know he's at the end of his career. He's so much fun, even now when he's a little bit over the top. What did you think of this match, Jeremy, and what happened afterwards? Your thoughts?
I enjoyed the match. It was a good match. I agree with J. Cal that Davison definitely has potential. I didn't see him going over on Homicide either. He clocked him in. I think they said 6'4", I believe. He's a big boy, but it's this Homicide who's established in the NWA. So I didn't see him going over at all, and I'm glad that he didn't. It kind of would have diminished Homicide a lot, I feel, regardless of what championships he carried in Wildcat.
Yeah.
The afterbirth was, I'm sad I can follow him as well. And it was cool. I really enjoyed it. I liked how Idol came out there and just stood there and let him get almost nose to nose with him and stuff, and didn't really back down, and that was good. I like bringing Homicide into the national title picture and going up against Scion. I think that could be an interesting matchup between the two.
Yeah. You know what? As I say, nearly incomprehensible. Maybe that's a bit too far because I can follow what he's saying. I feel like he's so close, Homicide, to being one of those people that if you ever met on the street and got into that situation in a bar or what have you, that's how someone might talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see someone walking around with a mic. Tim, these
Or
alligators.
just cut a flawless promo on you. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like the part where he was like, "Don't look at me, look at the camera. When was the last time you had someone kick your ass?" I felt like anyone who might have kicked my ass in the past, and there's been a couple, maybe might be shooting spittle up, through their words at the same time. So maybe I'll back off a little bit on that one. I just think it needs a little bit of work, and I like the idea of putting a mouthpiece with Homicide.
Yeah.
He still has so much value in the ring.
Yeah.
We go to looks that kill. Natalia and Mercurio. I can't roll my R's. It's terrible. I can't make the noise. Versus Psycho Love, Psycho Boy, Fodder, and Angelina Love in an intergender tag team match. So, as I gather it, any tag brings in the other team's partner, like of the same gender. I immediately thought, what could they do with Max here? Because there'd be so many different, would like Max is gender fluid.
She's the team.
They are, yeah.
They are the team.
Well, but they deserve a partner.
Yeah.
So would they have to? Could her partner be of either? That would be interesting. But anyway, I noticed, by the way, at this point, theme songs. This time around, right?
Yeah.
And that was new. So Love and Markova start fairly aggressively with one another in this match without really much effect early on. Fodder distracts the ref, and it's important that we remember this spot. He distracts the ref as Love strangles, Mercurio, and there's the obligatory ugly face spot with the middle turnbuckle. But as Mercurio distracts the ref, Markova, she doesn't want to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to win this straight up. There's some back and forth that sees Fodder mostly in charge over Mercurio. He's got some moves, guys. He's a skilled guy as far as I can determine, and I really don't know much about him. They really put over any shot to, of course, to the face or the hair when it comes to Mercurio. Anyway, he finally tags, and it made me think, okay, like hot tags, I guess, aren't really something you need to. They did sell it, but to us in the audience, but it's not really a thing because the other person's partner, of the same gender, also comes in. Markova hits this a shining wizard and something called a jazz stinger, which I'd never heard it called before. But Fodder breaks up the pin. The men are quickly back in. Mercurio hits a super kick, but he's showing off or something. It wasn't entirely clear to me at this point. As Fodder recovers, hits a cutter that doesn't look fantastic, and sort of this modified slam to win. My kind of final notes around the match, and I'll throw it to you this time, Jeremy, were not great. But this is the foray of the NWA into intergender tag team wrestling.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that sentiment. The match wasn't good. What I did like of it was what I saw of Mercurio's wrestling and Psycho Boy. I wouldn't mind seeing those two again in singles competition. I think that Davey Richards Fodder would definitely benefit from it. but it he's still rough. That cutter that he delivered, I had to go back and I watched it 3 or 4 times, and he needs to. He's not tall enough to pull that off. He needs to drop to his knees to do it,
Right.
or have them drop. But Mercurio just didn't go down far enough for it. And I'm not putting that on Mercurio. I don't think it's a good spot for Fodder to be pulling. He's not. He's just not that big of a guy to do it effectively. I don't feel.
On a scale of 1 to 5 for you, Jeremy, how interested would you be with the NWA continuing with intergender tag team wrestling? There's no wrong answer.
-100.
Oh, just no interest
Just
whatsoever.
none in it at all. That was the very first note that I wrote down. Was I'm not a fan of tag team intergender tag team matches. I'm not a fan of intergender matches. Period. I have no desire to see anything like that.
Yeah. Dave, again, you were there. You watched it live. I mean, what were your thoughts, and how did it go over with the crowd?
Well, overall, it wasn't a bad match. It was stop and go.
Right.
With a mixed tag match, doing intergender, when you either tag out or you have to switch both partners. So it brings what's happening to a halt, because the women have to wrestle the women and the men have to wrestle the men.
Right.
Now, if you end up bringing Max into the picture, which it looks like they're going to on the pre-show, for enough said, what category would Max fall?
What's that, sir?
What category would Max fall under?
Yeah.
Would Max have to tag out? Being non-binary, it's one of these things of a one-person wrecking crew. Not a man or a woman, but a one-person wrecking crew.
Right.
Max doesn't need a partner besides there being a rule of it's a mixed tag match.
Right.
So I don't know. I see what they're trying to do. It gets more of your talent in the ring and on screen for people to see. But for me, it's a no-go, because the way the rules are, it stops the momentum of the match.
Right. What I worry. Sorry, finish up. Yeah.
They need to do a little better explaining, being that yes, it is intergender, but if it is intergender, just let them go at it.
Right.
Men and women.
Yeah, if you get stuck in there, it's Camille and Tom versus Fodder and Love, and she gets stuck in there with Tom. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's different, right?
it's your job to find your partner and tag out.
Yeah. Jay says just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean we need them to tag.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't work yourself into a shoot, brother.
I don't think anyone's super excited about the whole idea. Look, I get the impression that, we're all, like, I'm not a social justice warrior, but I'm pretty left. And I love inclusion and celebrating that and the whole bit. The only thing I worry if Max gets involved in this is that Max went into a singles match with men and they all went, I'm not really sure what to do. And Max responded by decimating everyone in the ring that day.
Yep.
Right? For like a solid minute or two, they were just a wrecking crew. What I worry about is that there's a mixed tag thing and they go, and it becomes a comedy bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want it to be a comedy bit.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, I think that would really, really suck. I'm going to go back to some of the comments here. About Homicide, just to scroll back a little bit, Jake Cal says, perfect. He's a product of the streets, unapologetic, very authentic. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And what else can we say, really? Willie doesn't like Angelina Love. He said this before. But how about Danny deals with Homicide, guys? That's a crazy combination, but why not? You know, it's that could be fun. Willie says Camille's going to destroy Angelina Love. She's going to squash her. And yeah, oh, sorry, Sam here. Billy trying to attract casual fans. The intergender tag matches here, and just because you can, Jay says, doesn't mean you should, right? So I am not a fan either. If it didn't happen anymore, that would be okay. But hey, to your idea, Dave, if it means, and it's a special attraction thing, and it means if you get stuck in there with somebody who outweighs you by 200 pounds or whatever it might be, I mean, that's what you signed up for on paper, right? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We go backstage to May, still in her wedding dress. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do. It's continuity, man.
Yep.
You're already shaking your head, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll throw it to you, but basically, the stipulation for next week for Power is if Charlotte and Robin beat Ella and Roxy from Pretty Empowered, then they'll get a shot at the Women's World Tag Team Championship. They seem well spoken. They seem comfortable on the mic. I like the Renegade Twins a lot. You're shaking your head at the continuity, I imagine, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the interview?
The interview was good in getting them over to a crowd on TV that may have not seen them. But I mean, they've been around. That if you follow wrestling, you may have heard of them. That if you follow AEW Dark, they've been on several of those. A couple weeks ago, they were on Dynamite. They've wrestled for Mission Pro, which is Thunder Rosa. And I mean, they've only been in the business a couple years, but from what I saw, and I've seen several of their matches on TV, but seeing them live, they just it's in their blood. It's something they feel. Yeah. It's not, oh, I'm going to go wrestle and play the part. No, they are twins. Their blood, they're doing what they like. Yeah. And they're young in the business, but them being twins, I believe they are identical, but they don't share the same style.
Right.
Yeah.
They dress alike, but their hairstyle is different. So it's not, oh, we're going to do twin magic and switch all of a sudden. Right. But if you're not really paying attention, you don't know who's who unless you've met them or are paying attention so closely that you're listening and go, okay, the one with the spiral curls is Charlotte. The other one with just the straight hair is Rob.
Yeah, they do look slightly different. Yeah, I know they're identical, but they do look a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a good promo, and I mean, I'll be talking about them and Pretty Empowered in the fantasy booking, but I'm liking what I'm seeing already.
Yeah, me too. You know, Sam says they're using Pretty Empowered like TNA used Beautiful People. It's a good comparison, I think.
Yeah.
To go back, the boss says, I don't think Max would allow themselves to be made a joke. Yeah. I
don't see that either.
I know that they're open to comedy spots because they did those matches like with Chelsea Green where like, you know, just kind of as their partner and just sort of used her as a weapon or, you know, or like didn't quite understand the rules of tag team wrestling. It was kind of fun. But Willie, I apologize. I didn't see it earlier. The winners of the Crockett Cup for tag team wrestling should be contenders for the U.S. or World Tag Team Championships. 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's got a vault.
It should be a pick your belt.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah.
you've got two now, do you want to go after the U.S. or do you want to go after the main?
Yeah. Or if you're not going to do that, it ought to be the world.
Yeah.
Just to keep that pay-per-view status elevated.
Yep.
For sure. Sim says, yeah, I looked the Renegades up a few weeks ago, and they're definitely hard on the indies. So that's Jay mentions the Twins are a great addition to this roster. Yeah, a much needed jolt of just peeing here, energy into this tag team scene that desperately needs even more people, ladies, to be on this roster as well. Jeremy, May's still in the wedding dress, and Dave's already shook his head at it. And I kind of, Matt Cardona just made me laugh on Power that will they followed. He made a comment like, "Didn't you get married like a week ago? What? Why are you dressed out like that right now?" It was like he was just burning the continuity, and she almost laughed when she's supposed to be devastated. But what did you think when you saw her dressed like this? Should she still have it on?
In the grand scheme of things, while it does look silly and everything, she's the jilted bride that basically got left at the altar, and this has broken her entire world.
Yeah.
So it fits. And then we get to see later on in Power how that continues to play out. So while it is shenanigans and Gaga on top of Gaga, it does work though. I'll be happy. I'll be happy if they wrap it up with enough said. But if they continue going, I wouldn't be surprised either.
You know what I kind of see happening, and I'm never right, is kind of make her put her in like a black wedding dress and have that Tammy Faye Baker kind of makeup. Give her a tag team and make her a manager, and end up in some kind of match at a live event where it's her tag team, probably an existing one, right? And her, because I think she's been training. I've heard this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't verify that for sure. Against blunt force trauma, and have her pin Aaron.
Get out of my head, eh?
There you go, right?
That's where I was thinking with it too, because that would be the logical conclusion to it, right? She just goes full hardcore the other way. I'm just going to destroy everything that you've worked for and built up. I'm going to get my own monster tag team, and they're going to take your guys out.
Yeah. Could make sense.
I'm down for it.
Yeah. Willie doesn't like the coward Cardona. My wife will disagree. My wife likes Matt Cardona. And not just for his looks. Well, she thinks he's hilarious. I would have to agree. Jay says, you hope they bring out the Killer Bees mask. Yeah, I think if they both straighten their hair or both curl their hair, they could just do it without the mask, right? The Renegade Twins. They're that close. Well, we do get the final match from NWA USA, which is Kerry Morton, your world junior heavyweight champion, with Ricky Morton at his side, versus Joe Alonzo. Joe Alonzo is for me a treat to this roster. I was so glad just having followed him on Twitter this past year and seeing him every day manifest his future. I, Joe Alonzo, will sign a professional wrestling contract every day. And then one day, I, Joe Alonzo, signed a professional wrestling contract, right?
Yep.
So it's good to see him. And they book Alonzo as a heel. The story that gets told in this match is that there's something wrong with Kerry's wrist, and he's broken it or he's done something to it, and it's in a cast. As this match starts, and I know what you're going to say. I'm not going to what Alonzo said. The very first move of this match. Move on. We're in our 40s and 50s on this show now. Alonzo does right off the bat. I don't know if you guys all noticed this in the chat or you guys. The very first move of this match, Alonzo does the kiss it goodbye to. It's the same move, and I wonder if that's on purpose. The way that this finishes. He first move, and then he starts to go after the wrist. He's wrapping it around the ring post, and Ricky's going to get involved, but Kerry waves off his dad. Kerry's really got like the facials down for like like he's in a lot of pain. So he waves his dad off. Joe hits the guardrail when Kerry spins him and throws him into the guardrail. He breaks one of the spindles off of that guardrail outside, that metal guardrail. Like it snaps. He recovers pretty quick though, and he continues to work that hand, and that's the story of this match. That as Kerry Morton tries to overcome the attack on his hand, Joe's very expressive, and he makes a decent heel for me in this match. Kerry, as I say, sells the pain really quite well. He finally makes a comeback with a bunch of jabs with his good hand. He hits a neck breaker. There's a power slam. He calls for the kiss it goodbye, and Alonzo just bails out of the ring. As this match progresses, there is a subsequent missed double stomp off the top rope by Alonzo, and the kiss it goodbye hits, and Joe Alonzo kicks out. There's a weird series of rope running that kind of gets a little bit mixed up, and then Kerry hits something. Maybe Dave, you saw it that was there, and he hits something new for the win. I wrote something with the intention of going back and seeing what it was, but I'm not real sure. He pins Alonzo. There's a celebration. And Danny Deals is out with Alex Taylor, and it looks for all evidence that they are going to cash in on a Champions Series shot right now at the World Junior Championship. Kerry's like, bring it, let's go. And then Dio says, but we'll book it for enough said, and because you people don't deserve it. And I thought, bit of a strange reason. Jeremy, did you see what he hit at the end? Because I didn't see it, and I don't know what it was.
I didn't catch it either.
What did you think of the match, and what did you think of Deals in the after? I like Danny Deals. I think he gets a bad rap, but what did you think of the whole thing?
I enjoyed it. I really like the intensity that Alonzo's bringing. His Twitter game, as the kids would say, is savage. I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
It was a good match. Alonzo's a great addition to the junior heavyweight scene. I like that he called out Joe and Tim Storm at one point, and then Velvet made the comment that either one of them would whoop the shit out of him.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
That was pretty funny.
But he's like that. He's like that little French bulldog, that just is gonna be right there, just barking at you and begging for a fight.
Oh yeah. Good when he was yelling at him, like, I dare you to fight back, or whatever it was, right?
Yeah. And then the after the match with Deals and Alex Taylor coming out. I mean, you look at Alex Taylor and you look at Kerry Morton, and I think it was Joe Alonzo that made the comment that he's soft. Kerry's soft, and he is.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that after I heard that, and I'm watching the match, and I'm going, this guy's a cheerleader, tossing cheerleaders up in the air and catching them and stuff. And I expected him to be a little bit more cut up than what he is, kind of jello-y there in some areas. And then you look at Alex Taylor, who's just jacked.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid is yoked, and he looks like a junior heavyweight champion to me. He really does. Nothing against Kerry, but he looks like a champion that I grew up on. Yoked guy.
Right. But you remember, like, his dad never looked super cut either.
Right.
Smaller than Kerry. But maybe that's part of his progression. Maybe that's
Yeah.
like at some point when I saw Kerry recently in GCW being a heel, I thought he was really good at it.
Yep.
But maybe there's something that happens along the way that does that. Dave, did you see what he hit at the end? What's his finisher now? And what did you think?
I don't know what it was. I was just like, well, that's different.
Yeah.
And then
what was that? Yeah.
Okay, he goes for the pin, and I don't know if they're showing like some weakness, that because Kerry's injured, he can't hit his finishing move, or his finishing move isn't as strong. I really don't know. But all I was thinking when I saw him, I'm like, wow. If he's really hurt, could he pull off an Iron Mike Sharp or a Bob Orton and keep that cast on? Oh, here's my doctor's note. Doctor says I have to leave the cast on. I can't take the cast off.
Right.
That could be not a complete turn, but him using it to his advantage. But the thing is, Alonzo is great in what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're pushing him too fast. Give him a couple wins.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's picking up right where Colby Corino left off. He's the guy that agitates the crowd, does things to get under your skin. And I mean, he's young in the business, and I mean, I'm hoping that they push him to the junior heavyweight title down the line.
Right.
But give him some time to build up, get some victories, and then go back and win.
Yeah, let him marinate. Yeah.
But like, why not? I mean, give Alex Taylor a chance, because I mean he's been through a lot, and it's not like the ill-begotten are doing a lot.
Yeah.
So use him to build up your champions. And I mean, I thought it was so funny. Danny Deals was calling out Kerry, and he's like, "Oh, that's a fake injury coming from a guy who wore a neck brace for months on end."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I love the little details he has when he does that. Like, that's a fake injury. I got the documentation. I have the photos. We know everything. Anyway, moving on. Like, it's hilarious. Yeah. Listen, that's NWA USA. Let us rapid fire through the NWA Power results, which I forgot to completely put on the format, guys. That's how with it I am this week. But hey, over at Power this week, and we asked you to tune in tomorrow night so that Jay and the guys can go through them properly. I'll actually go to the comments first. We know Willie doesn't like Cardona. Sam thinks Cardona over Tyrus. James says no way. Tyrus will retain. This all being enough said. About May, Jay says she's been training for a while, and that's great. Nothing more dangerous than a jilted lover, something woman scorned, right? That's always a good angle. Alonzo working the Angels. Alonzo working the Smarks. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Willie says Laredo Kid would be a great competitor for Kerry Morton's Junior Heavyweight Championship. I'd buy that. Yeah. So if he retains Tyrus, and I'm jumping back and forth, Tom Latimer, Dak Draper, Blake Troop, or Odinson should be able to defeat the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I mean,
why don't we just put them all in there and have them all pin him at once, and then we could Freebird roll it?
Yeah, I'd watch that too. Ricky was good. Willie says. Sam says Kerry spoke about some kind of body condition some time ago on Instagram. Did not know that.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. And Jay, like me, really wants to see Carrie
Yeah.
heal.
Yeah.
It would be a lot of fun. But let's go to NWA Power. I did write the results down on my phone, even though I didn't put them on the screen. Kratos, as we know, over Thrillbilly Mason with a rising knee strike. Pollo, as we know, wiped out in this match. Kind of talked about this one a little bit in the beginning when Pollo just got raised there. And I'll jump back and forth between you guys. Dave, what did you think of the match overall?
I thought it was a good one. I was very, very shocked seeing it live, what happened to Pollo. But it was a strong match. It was the second in their series. So they're now tied. So it's going to be a rubber match to best man win. And it's Kratos is one of those guys that can be put in almost any position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great heel, but against an even better heel, he can be a face.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But he is doing his best to shine up Thrillbilly. And it said, I mean, when they go at it, I mean, all it's doing is building up the future. And I mean, I'm glad that Kratos is still with the NWA, but I'm glad he's out of the Aaron Stevens storyline. That now he's just insert player into wherever he's needed.
Yeah, and he looks trimmer than the last
Yeah.
time. He looks like he cut some weight.
Yep.
And I believe he's still doing New Japan. So I mean, he is just a monster.
Fantastic. Renegade Twins over Pretty Empowered. That's Envy and Roxy. Jeremy with kind of a modified heart attack finisher, sort of off the ropes. Instead of the clothesline, it was more of like a face buster. They went in a shot at the belts while Kenzie Page was handcuffed to the ring. What did you think of this one?
This one was a good match. I liked the Renegade Twins. They're a great addition for the tag team division, and Roxy, who carried a lot of the load for her and Ella Envy, did really good too. She looked really good in there as well. And then we got introduced to Kylie Page, I believe, during the match.
Yep.
What's her name? So we've got another addition to the women's division in the NWA. Things are looking like they're on an uptick for them in that division, and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, me too. Backstage, Matt Cardona with Mike Knox are with Mae Valentine, and I gotta tell you, I laughed pretty hard. They're hilarious. Like I said earlier, Matt's like, "Why are you?" She's wearing your wedding dress. Why are you wearing that? Weren't you married like a week ago? And she almost laughs. She almost breaks. She's like, "I wasn't," but she holds it in. She's a pro. Anyway, they have a partner for their 6-man tag match tonight, where they're going to face Tyrus with his 2 partners, and the winner is going to decide the stipulation for Jeremy's. When Jeremy's eyes close, that means it's going to be shit. But anyway, so the winner will decide the stipulation for the world title match. Okay, TV title match. Matty Mims cashed in his champion series shot for this.
Yeah.
And goes to a time limit draw with Jordan Clearwater. Not a good match. I don't know. Who did I go
Who did
to?
Mims hurt? I wrote down who did Mims hurt in the back, and why does he keep getting robbed?
Yeah, I mean, can we do something with Mims, Dave? Can we do something with Mims?
I'm hoping. I mean, I have Mims is being wasted, in my opinion. That there was close to 2 minutes outside of the ring that Clearwater just clearly was running the clock down.
Yeah.
That if you tacked on even a minute of the outside the ring action or non-action, he would have had him. And I mean, I like that they have the clock, but it seems like Mims is stuck in almost limbo. They don't know what to do with him. They know they want to do something, but I mean, it's just the TV title needs to be one of these things that you don't, just because it's a 7 matches that you have to win, you don't have to.
Right.
All of a sudden, just, I mean, shuffle it, play hot potato with it.
Yeah,
There's so many younger guys that can be moved around and up and down, that if Mims would win, hold it for a month, and then Clearwater comes back and defeats him at down in Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't a better story have been here, like Matthew Mims has been screwed before by like tactics, time-wasting tactics. Here's a bell, ding, 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 and he just goes at him. He chases him. He's hammering him. Like, wouldn't it? And Jordan Clearwater just spends 6 minutes and 5 seconds trying to. Oh my God! Even if you don't want the title on Mims, couldn't we have just made him look strong and Clearwater look like a heel? And I just thought the whole thing was a bit of a waste. Anyway, what do we got? Oh my God. Aaron Stevens is with May. He's more interested in talking about blunt force trauma than his failed winning issues. She hates him now. She tells us that flat out. I hate you. Great. I am also more interested in blunt force trauma than their wedding woes. Then we get Tom Latimer going over Jack Stain, who has Chris Silvio. He wins with a submission hold, kind of a crossface, when Silvio throws in, the scarf. And so Jax doesn't look weak, Jeremy. This could have been a match, a dream match. And I guess Jax goes out looking strong, losing this one.
Yeah. He did go out looking strong. Tom did. Tom came out of it looking strong as well. I wrote that I don't see how where was it? Scott Wheeler didn't see Silvio with his little scarf around Latimer's leg.
Yeah.
I think that Billy needs to at least foot the bill for some eye insurance for his staff. And I also found it odd that Velvet is talking about other people fighting her battles, or other people fighting their battles for them, whenever she spent a lot of her career in a tag team cheating and having other people fight her battles for her. I just thought that was odd. The match was good. I don't think... I'm not sure what's going to come of it. I found it also odd that whenever Silvio went to get his scarf, Jax was already gone.
Right.
Like, gone. Kaiser Soze it. So, is something going to come of that later on down the road?
Yeah, it didn't sell well on camera. If that is going to be a thing, it was just they didn't make a scene with him leaving; it just seemed to be gone, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, was what it was. I'm going to get to your comments in a second. Let me just finish the last one. You'll get the final word here, Dave. It is Mike Knox, Matt Cardona, and their partner, as called in a funny. Wouldn't it be hilarious if their partner was actually Rolando Freeman on the pre-party this week? It's Rolando Freeman, and it was funny in the sense that Cardona was, this is the guy who pinned him twice, and he's all jacked to be here. Tyrus comes out, and instead of bringing anyone in Idol Mania, he brings out blunt force trauma. And there was a really cool thing. Maybe we should make a graphic for that, with Tyrus with his arms crossed and Blunt Force Trauma with their arms crossed. Um, I mean, in the end for this one, the only thing I would have Orlando has multiple foreign objects that are all found. It takes 11,000 years for this match to start. And as the ref finds them one by one by one. The reason for that is that Rolando turns around and finds himself standing with Tyrus, who Tongan death grips him into the mat, pins him, one move, the whole match. Nobody else gets any action, and wins. That aside for a moment, the stipulation on that he picks is, from what I can determine, no outside interference. Isn't that a regular wrestling match? So I don't know. Like, I didn't hear steel cage to keep everybody out. I heard no outside interference.
Yep.
Dave, your impressions of this?
A lot of waste of time. It's one of these things. All this build up for, hey, we're going to have a singles match with no outside interference. Well, that's a regular match. That's not anything special unless you're going to have referees on the outside to keep anybody from getting in. It's one of these things of no outside interference. I'm wondering if they're making the assumption of, well, we don't want anybody coming from the back. Well, if you're already out near the ring, is that considered outside interference? If you're within, let's say, 6 feet of the ring, maybe a guest commentator who's sitting in on the championship match, Bully Ray.
Yep.
I think the NWA saw what Billy Ray did when he went back to Impact and how he more or less had an impact. He doesn't need a championship. He wants to help push either new talent or existing talent and help the organization, not just himself.
Right.
I mean, he's 50 years old. He's a proven name, and a win over him, who knows?
Yep, I agree.
It's one of these things of, Cardona have history on the indies. I'm not sure if he and Tyrus have any history, but he's one of the bigger names, even though he hasn't wrestled as a big name in the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
He's on national radio.
He is.
With Busted Open. People know who he is, and they listen to what he says a lot.
For sure. Big
so,
name.
I mean, it's one of these things. Okay, no outside interference. Well, I'm not interfering. I just went to check on him to see if he was okay. What the referee doesn't see never happened. So who knows?
Who knows? A couple of things from before, just as we move on to Jeremy here in the UWN. They should have booked it, Sam says, a tag title match, no build. I haven't seen La Rebellion in almost 2 months. Yeah, I know. Dane's on pre-show, says James H. Jackson. That's sad, and Sam agrees. It's too good. He's too good to be in some tag team on the pre-show. Although that tag team is a pretty good tag team, though. Media says for this main event, it's fantastic. I loved it. It was short and well done. I think he's being sarcastic, but even if you're not, we love you anyway. The only thing that could have been better than the finish was hey, yeah, Chelsea returning in a certain fashion. Hey, how about we get how do we get you guys some closed captioning? It's a good idea. That's a good
It's
idea.
my wife.
I
Hi,
know.
monkey.
That's why I put up your little kissy face. That's all for you, Jeremy. It's a lovely woman. Yeah. So I mean, terrible waste of time main event. I hoped everyone booed in the theater, in the arena. I certainly would have. That's I don't really care what it sets up. It's a waste of time. Let us go to Championship Wrestling from Jeremy, the United Wrestling Network, and Memphis Wrestling, and the recaps. What do you got for us, my friend?
Well, we start off with Memphis Wrestling episode 102, James Smellsworth. Starts off with Dustin Starr and Brett Michaels, the Gun Show, Memphis Heritage Wrestling champion. Gun Show tells Mike Anthony that he has the title now and it's staying with him. Kate Toomer comes out, tells Brett that he has respect for him. In the 20 years he's put into this business, it's nothing personal when he gets in the ring. It's all business, though. The Hollywood Clique comes out. Jimmy Blaylock, Van Vicious, Colton Cage, Dangerous Diana Taylor, and a newly named Jason Vane now, not going by Adamas anymore. Jimmy blames Colton for Toomer winning the Grind City Rumble and tells Colton that he needs to be more like Van. Blaylock then says he wants a tag match and against Van and Colton against Toomer and Brett Michaels. Toomer looks at Van Vicious and tells him he's going to kick his head off. I laughed at that. We then get Memphis Wrestling legend King Cobra, who comes out with the Cobra Cup, as it's the Cobra Cup season now. And we get round one of the Cobra Cup, Jason Vane versus Kid Wrestling. Kid Wrestling is able to get in very little offense. Vane is just bigger, stronger, faster, and makes short work of Kid Wrestling and advances in the Cobra Cup with a brutal short arm clothesline for the 3 count. We get a clip from an autograph signing with James Ellsworth, and the customer was Rhino JB, and he has a Twitch stream where he does wrestling simulation matches on there, and he'll have 2 people in the chat, and they pick who is going to who they want their person to be, and then he enters them into the match. But he also participates in the Rolling into Mempho podcast as well. But Ames Ellsworth has apparently hired the services of Storybook Prince Gaston and Matt Williams.
Yeah.
And he's mad at him because they couldn't get the job done, and that's why he's there. He has a plan, but he'll tell them later. He's got his cash to make. We then get Dustin Starr with Reverend Ash Taylor. The Reverend has prayed hard, and he forgives the crowd for disrespecting him every time he's came out. And he'd like to introduce one of his most devoted followers, Brother Red, and tells the crowd that they will either follow him down the righteous path or Brother Red will drag them down it. And Brother Red dude's a big old boy, and I wouldn't want to run into him in a cornfield.
Big boy.
Not at all. We then get another Cobra Cup match. This is Brother Red with Reverend Ash Taylor versus Geo Savage. Terrence Ward is not a fan of Reverend Ash Taylor, and Dustin Starr says that Reverend Ash is a fake-ass preacher. Geo starts out with a shoulder shuffle, but Brother Red's not having any of it. Impressive belly to belly bridging slam doesn't do much to phase Brother Red, though. He hits a choke slam on Geo off the top turnbuckle and pins him clean in the middle to advance. We then get King Cobra and Derek the King in a segment. Derek is upset he's lost his crown to the Posse, and Ray Ray's upset because they didn't win the tag titles from the Posse. King Cobra said there's something there with the 2 of them, and they need to get on the same page, and you don't win tag titles right off the bat. he can see them winning the titles, though. And I see him winning them sooner than later. I really do. They're white hot with the crowd right now.
Yeah.
We then get Dustin Starr with Ellsworth. Ellsworth says the crowd is pathetic. Mackenzie Morgan comes out, says that she knows that smell, and that's the smell she smelled when she got knocked out. Storybook Prince Gaston and Matt Williams come out and grab Mackenzie, get her in the middle of the ring as Ellsworth's getting ready to hit her. Nix and Cassandra come out to make the save. We've got a little video segment from Blake Christian. He says when he comes to Memphis next week, he's going to have a talk with an old friend of his and the problem child, Aaron Roberts. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
We then get the Memphis Internet Championship match with Tim Bosby versus Big Jack. Best of the best, Austin Lane comes out to join the commentary team, says that he's scouting Bosby as he sees a lot of himself in Bosby. Big Jack probably has a good 40 to 60 pounds on Bosby and utilizes that size advantage to do some serious damage to Bosby's right arm, possibly eliminating the ripcord lariat. Bosby had some very nice looking had a very nice looking German suplex, and then Big Jack's brother Bruce comes out, causes just slight distraction, allows Bosby to actually hit the ripcord lariat and get the 3 count, but he's showing signs of wear, and Austin Lane goes to shake his hand, but Bosby just shoulder bumps him as he walks to the back, and just very full of himself kid, very confident, and I think his fall will be quite dramatic whenever he loses that belt. We then get the main event, and it's a tag team match. The Hollywood Clique, Colton Cage and Van Vicious versus the Master Fat Jitsu, K Toomer, and the Gun Show, Brett Michaels. Before the match even started, Brett Michaels pulled a Twinkie out of thin air and threw it at Jimmy Blaylock.
Jimmy Blaylock, who was wearing a K Tumorous fat hat.
Yeah. he has no slowdown or anything. He's all in on everything. Colton and K Toomer start out. Toomer immediately starts the punishment on Cage and toys around with him for a few minutes before tagging in the Gun Show. Vicious makes a blind tag and gets in one move of offense on the Gun Show before getting scooped up and just suspended in midair before getting slammed flat on his back. Gun Show immediately goes after and grabs Jimmy right after that. Van Vicious makes the save. As Vicious was going for the hot tag, Colton Cage dropped down off of the ring apron, said some things to Blaylock and Van Vicious, and then walks to the back. K Toomer hits Van Vicious with the big sidekick. Gun Show follows it up with the Gun Show lariat. Toomer makes the cover for the win. That's the end of that match. I'm sure there's going to be some serious consequences for Colton Cage in the next coming weeks from the Hollywood Clique.
Yeah.
Just don't turn your back on the Clique. That's not a good idea. I feel sorry for the kid, but at the same time, it's good to see him get out from underneath that.
100%.
He's a good talent, and he doesn't need to be lined up with anything like that to get over there. We then go to Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield. I'm going to quit saying Championship Wrestling from Hollywood because they call it Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield now.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop calling it that. This is week 2 of the Red Carpet Rumble. We get a number 1 contenders match for the United World Network Heavyweight Championship. We've got Willie Mack versus Bad Dude Tito versus the Captain Sean Dean versus the Bad Boy Joey Janela. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
Dude. At one point, Sean Dean slapped Joey Janela so many times that he went into the crowd seizing. I don't know. It was kind of corny. It was corny, and I don't mean cornet. It was so fake looking. I don't I would have immediately vetoed it whenever he was in the back saying, "Hey, I think we need to do this spot." No, dummy, we don't.
Yeah.
You were basically humping the person that you were laying on top of in the crowd, and I feel sorry for that poor gentleman.
Yeah.
And that's just because Joey Janela looks like he doesn't bathe regularly. Willie Mack gets a nip up and then the standing moonsault on Janela. Bad Dude Tito got a massive superplex on Willie Mack. Joey Janela gets a super kick on Bad Dude Tito. Then a Death Valley driver, the 2 count. In the end, though, a friend of the Alliance, Bad Dude Tito, hits the painted black on Joey Janela to secure his spot as the #1 contender for the United Wrestling Network Championship. I'm excited to see that match. Yeah, that'll be a nice clash of styles and size and everything between Bad Dude Tito and Danny Limelight. So
yeah, it's going to be good.
Cool. We then get a match between the Funky Monkey Ortiz and Hammerstone, the captain of Meat Mountain, or the king. Or is it the king of Meat Mountain? I think it's the king of Meat Mountain. I'd have to ask Gary Horn on that. I don't know what happened on the swinging neck breaker that Ortiz delivered to Hammerstone, but after that, he started grabbing at his ribs on the left side quite a bit. I don't know if something happened or what. Ortiz wrestled a very methodical match, but that rib continued to give him issues throughout the match. It was a good clash of styles. Hammerstone comes out victorious after hitting the Nightmare Pendulum. Was one that I didn't see Hammerstone walking away from losing, but it was a good match and definitely worth going back and checking out. I'm not familiar with Ortiz, so that was kind of an introduction to him, and it was a good match between them.
Yeah.
We then get Jeremy McPeet and the United World Heavyweight Champion Danny Limelight. Danny addresses his upcoming main event match tonight with Eddie Kingston and says that jealousy and hatred that he has in his heart must be the Irish in him. I kind of shook my head at that one a little bit, friend of the show, but
yeah.
We then get Charles R3 Cassis versus Pretty Peter Avalon. This is apparently a match a long time in the making. R3 had given up his Arizona State Championship for this match a while back, while Peter Avalon was one of the producers for Championship Wrestling from Arizona. And he's finally got that match. This is one that is worth going back and watching as well. Both men told a very good story in the ring. Very hard hitting. In the end, though, Pretty Peter Avalon comes out with the win. It was a good one. I enjoyed it. We then get our main event match, the United World Championship match between Eddie Kingston and Danny Limelight. Both of these men had some choice words since this match had been announced for each other. Kingston, who is a true student of the business, starts it out very traditionally. Kingston would love nothing more than to win the title. Limelight will do whatever it takes to keep it. This match was a war of attrition for both men as Kingston and Limelight continue to punish each other, though. Jordan Clearwater and Invictus Cash of the Embassy come out and interfere and brings the match to a draw, I believe.
Yeah.
And that brings out the Bodega to help clean house. Then after that, Limelight and Kingston shake hands, and good show of sportsmanship there. Kingston raises Limelight's hand and tells the crowd to cheer for their champ. And a great show of respect. It was a good show all the way around. I highly recommend you go watch it, because if you're not, you're fucking up.
You're not getting it.
You're just not getting it, man.
Yeah, Sam says he expected a better match out of Limelight and Kingston. Well, a better finish, but it was cool. Like, hey, we good? Are we all good
Yeah,
here? Then we're good. I
and
did like that part.
it kept them both strong.
Yeah.
I didn't. At the end of the day, it makes sense. Kingston doesn't go out on his back, so Danny doesn't have to pin him. And maybe this could come of something later on down the road between the bodega and the embassy.
Yep, 100%.
And I would not be mad if they brought Kingston back in. So
One of the best Car Shield cards, lineups, matches I've seen in over a year. AEW could definitely learn something from viewing this, not just the wrestling aspect, but the production overall. Yeah, Dave Marquez Productions. They know their shit.
yes, they do.
Just look, if you ever are going to take a time to go and watch these two shows, because we tell you to all the time, go and watch this one. This is the one. Go watch part 2, and then you'll want to see the Rumble for next week.
Yep.
Thank you, my friend. Here's where are our banners. Oh my God. Let's go into Dave Scooby Fantasy Booker. Booking Pretty Empowered and the Renegade Twins. Dave, how long of a program have they got? Is it time for a change? Walk us through this program between the two teams.
Well, if I were booking it, I would go 4 to 6 months. Ooh. If you go 6 months on booking, it takes you to 75.
Right.
It takes you to at least August. So it's one of these things of, with the way the NWA is doing the World is a Vampire tour and doing Mexico and then Australia, I'm not sure how they keep the momentum going. They're going to have tapings after Nuff Said. They'll have 2 days of taping. So you're talking about another month to maybe month and a half of programming. I'm not sure where they're going to be able to do some tapings. I've heard rumblings that there may be another pay-per-view come April. Mm-hmm. If not, at least tapings in April. Because I'm not sure how they're going to do the wrestling, music, concert, venue type stuff. If they're going to be able to do highlights of some of the matches, or if they're going to be like the territorial days where it's the same match week after week after week, but it's in different territories.
Right.
So I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But getting back to the Renegade Twins and Pretty Empowered, Renegade Twins, they can definitely go. They've had a couple matches with Pretty Empowered. Now they're going to have a championship match at Nuff Said.
Right.
But it's also going to be a numbers game, being that Roxy is the third quote-unquote member of Pretty Empowered. She's their pledge. And then Kenzie's younger sister, Kylie, got involved. So you're talking 4 women versus 2 women. Well, that gives a possibility of the Hex former champions jumping in and helping the Renegades as backup if needed. But it's one of these things, having Kylie, the younger Paige, and Roxy run interference during a few matches, and it's going to be a numbers game no matter what.
Right.
So I'd work it, and depending on how they do tapings, have a wonky finish at Nuff Said with interference, and then you work it to 75. Now that's quite a ways away. It is, but it isn't.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of tag teams, so
And there, like you said, there's not a lot of tag teams. So I'd have it come to an end at 75 and have the Renegades win, even if they keep the belts for 1 or 2 tapings. That's 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Time on TV. It also gives the NWA time to build up a couple newer tag teams that if they bring some others in and just rotate them, that you're always going to have, I hate to say a jobber team, but a lower level team that doesn't have to win.
Right.
That gives a shine to the teams that you are pushing. And in looking on PWI, their top 100 tag teams was both men and women. So in the top 100, Pretty Empowered was ranked 71. The Renegade Twins were ranked 73.
Ooh.
So they're pretty much even. So it's one of these things of Pretty Empowered, you've given them a good run. Give it to another team. Let them carry it for a couple months, and you can always go back to Pretty Empowered. But it's one of these things that they're already being booked against each other outside of the NWA. Towards the end of February, it's AML Wrestling out of, I believe, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Is having several members of the NWA. They're doing a ladies' night out. So they're having, I believe, Natalia Markova is going to be there. I believe Camille is going to be defending her belt, the Burke.
Wow.
Plus you have Pretty Empowered versus the Renegade Twins. So it may be a continuation of the storyline outside of the NWA.
Okay.
But I do like what I see when I see the Renegades. They can definitely go. They work really well together, and it's one of those things that as family or sisters or brothers that get into wrestling, it's more of a intuition that as a student, you can finish what your twin is saying, that their thought process is more than, oh, we're friends. It's we're one that became two.
Right.
So it's one of these things that if it was pushed correctly, even with a short 4 to 6 month run, they're strong. If they move on, they move on. They've been in AEW before, and they've done some stuff with Mission Pro. I'd like to see them possibly take the belts. And like I said, give them at least 3 to 4 months with the belts on TV. That's 1 or 2 tapings. And in that time, you either put some teams together or bring in outside teams. It's the NWA. You only need to have a core roster of 40 to 50 wrestlers. Bring in and rotate some outside talent.
Right.
How do you think Kenzie Page came in?
Right.
She came in as quote unquote a enhancement talent.
Right.
It helps that Dr. Tom is working with the NWA, that he's able to bring in some of his students. And I noticed the shirt. I saw that. I'm like, oh, okay. It's one of these things of use what you have around you. That if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, move on and see what other advancements you can make. But not having a lot of established tag teams, they don't need tons. They just need a basic 1 or 2 to keep a storyline going. If they jump and a new team wins, It's almost like, okay, let's shake the etch a sketch and start all over again.
Yeah.
It's starting anew. That when you have a new team show up, a new team win, hey, we're starting this all over again. They don't have to be a roster of a lot of teams or a lot of wrestlers. They just have to use what they have to their advantage.
100%.
Now, with them having the intergender, I'm not so keen on that. But the one person I am keen on is Max the Impaler.
Right.
Max, along with Heidi Howitzer,
Right.
have a hell of a tag team on the outside of the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
When in doubt, if you don't know where to push Max, bring in Max's tag partner.
Right.
There's your next challenger right there.
100%.
One or two tapings, and you start again.
Would
It's
love
just,
to see that.
I mean, I was watching some of it on YouTube the other day, and I'm like, my God, that team. It's just, it's the Road Warriors.
Yeah, they look great.
It's the Road Warriors. It is basically Mad Max come to life. And I'm like, the damage that can be done. And that's what I actually like about the Renegades. That they're not we're a women's tag team, but they don't wrestle like they're women. They just go in there, they wrestle to win.
Right.
And I mean, the emotion they show, I'm hoping this stretches out. I'd love to see them win at Nuff Said, but I don't see them switching the belts quite yet, being that they just did NWA Pretty Empowered merchandise for the tag team, and they're selling their merchandise now. They have a flag, so I'm like, well, they have Camille, they have Pretty Empowered, and I'm not sure that I know they have the NWA logo, but I'm like, I don't see the belts being lost in the next couple months.
Yeah.
But maybe by 75, when it's time for a change, and 75, I'm looking at as the anniversary show is basically the WrestleMania, that let's start new storylines coming out of that show.
Yep.
Sounds good to me. It's always funny to me when you're like, this July, Camille will defend the Burke, at this show. And I'm like, it's February. But that's great. James says, when do Twin Powers activate? As we're talking about the Renegades. Media says it booked the Renegades right into another promotion. I don't know if that's a shot at them or if that's a shot at the NWA, but maybe he thinks they deserve better. I don't know. And Sam says, hey, let's put the World Women's Tag Team Championship on them. So I like your plan to book them out down the road, Dave.
Yep.
I think that would be great. And that's the slow burn that we're kind of missing.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get out of here, guys. Let's get out of here. It's we could call this one like 15 minutes shorter than usual, which is great because I'm almost 15 minutes late for the next thing I have to do right after this. But and everyone's always like, "Why is he late? He's always on time." And then just Wednesday nights. I'm like, oh. But anyway, where are we online? Where are you online, Jeremy?
You can find me on Twitter at HJWOTS. And tomorrow I will be conducting my first interview that I will be posting up on my YouTube page. So follow me on Twitter for the links for that. I'll be posting that up Friday, if not Thursday night.
No spoilers?
It's an international. They're an international person.
International person.
They're an international person. They're not North America.
Austin Powers.
Oh,
Man
behave.
of mystery. That's awesome. I look forward to that. Make sure you tweet that link out so that
Yes.
we have.
Yes, I will be.
What about you, Dave?
You can find me at Dave Scooby on both Instagram and Twitter. And just if you have any suggestions for fantasy booking, hit me up. Or if you have any questions, hit me up as well.
Fantastic. And I am now at the Alliance Gold on all the social medias because apparently I just can't get enough of social media punishment. Thank you everyone for being here in our chat. Please tune in tomorrow night, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Alliance Guys podcast with J. Cal, DKM, and Jaden. And I think I'm meeting at least, I guess, 2 of those guys, I would think, in March down at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators show on March 25th in beautiful downtown rustic Glassboro, New Jersey. But they will be here tomorrow night to run down the details from Power With You and to get into all things NWA. Of course, the flagship, the one that has, really is the vanguard of the entire Alliance family network. Pre-Power, that hour before Power, the pre-party, that hour before Power, 5 p.m. Tuesdays, right before Power, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. That's J. Cal himself, the boss. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Any last comments? You guys will all figure it out there. Hey, listen, thanks, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.